record this. This will be posted after the fact on YouTube, and there'll be a link when Bob does a follow-up and talk about the upcoming meetings. So good deal. Donovan, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other any member announcements? Anybody have anything they want to announce?
Did he say the new member's name?
Yeah, what was Bob White? What was the new member's name? Need to unmute yourself, Bob.
Yeah, I was muted.
Sorry.
Kara Okenberg.
Hi, Kara. How are you? You're welcome. Welcome to it. And how'd you find us? If you need to unmute yourself and you're on a Mac, you just simply hold down your space bar. Okay. Maybe she is indisposed at the current time. All right. Let's see. Moving right along.
Well, wait a minute, Ken.
Oh, yeah.
I would think let's remind, excuse me, let's remind people that we moved your class from July 4th to July 11th.
Oh, yeah, very important. So because we had classes scheduled, the 9 to noon first Saturday class is actually on the second Saturday now, and it will go from 9 until around 11:30 because the WITS is after that, and nothing else has changed at this point. And you know, these virtual meetings are they're interesting, and I think with some of the resurgence that's happening, I think we're probably going to be stuck with this for a while. And frankly, you know, it makes it nice because we record it and you're comfortable at your house, we're comfortable at our homes. And I think our attendance, I mean, look at it, we've got 73 people here tonight. So that would have been quite a few in a normal general meeting. So, and I think it's because everybody's here for the raffle. Speaking of the raffle, there will be, I'll explain more when we get closer to it, but basically there are 4 $25 Amazon gift cards, and there are 2 $100 Amazon gift cards that will be raffled off at the end in a random number generator for members and members only. And unlike our other raffles, you can't buy extra tickets. So everybody has one shot at it. And if you do win if you win a $25 ticket, because we do those first, or gift card, and then you win 100, your 25 goes back into the pool for someone else. And those will be sent to you by tomorrow, the Amazon gift card by email. So we have to make sure you have your email. And when we get to those winners, we'll have you guys hang around afterwards so we can verify that we have everyone's email. So going on further with the agenda, and actually, Pete, do you have, well, I guess we don't have to have the screen share up for it. Let me just look here quickly. Tech Q&A. Bob, did we have any mail-in tech Q&A this time?
No.
All right. So we can ask questions from the audience. So again, if you're on a Mac, pop out the participant screen, click raise hand. We'll take those. If you're on a iPhone or an iPad, tap the screen, and on the upper right-hand corner where the ellipsis is, you can raise your hand and you can ask tech questions. We'll start with the first one here. So Christina, the part about the video not working, does it work for other things, and is it sporadic also?
It's sporadic. So when I was working and we had weekly meetings and also with some friend groups, about 1/3 of the time, the video didn't work.
And were those normally Zoom meetings?
Yes.
And if you have you tried the camera like with QuickTime or anything else to see if it's also sporadic there?
In QuickTime, no, I haven't tried that.
So the thing is, we need to find out if it's a software problem in the computer, if it's a hardware problem, or if it's a Zoom problem. And that's kind of what you have to do. And so always I recommend, rebooting the computer and seeing if that helps. And then obviously Zoom goes through some software updates. I've had it happen to me a couple times and simply rebooting and firing Zoom back up, but it's been very rare, but I've had that happen. Pete,
that's probably what I need to do is reboot, is to go through that process because I don't shut down my computer very often.
Oh yeah, you should. Everyone, you should reboot pretty much every 2 weeks or so. And frankly, if I'm hosting a Zoom meeting, I definitely make sure that I reboot my computer beforehand because there's memory leaks that happen, things like that. And it just cleans everything up.
That goes for your iOS device too, right? You want
Yeah,
that
definitely.
hard reboot.
Yep. So, Bert, I'll get to you in a second. Some people have moved far away and aren't able to come. Yeah, I
And
mean,
I lied.
meetings are so nice. You know, we're virtual meetings. I think we had somebody pop in from Hawaii last time, and you know, it's good. And we have 73 people again. So,
And
yes,
I rechecked. I do have one for you.
okay,
I just chatted it to you.
okay, yeah. One
And
sec.
it's from,
So,
it's from
Vito,
Bert Smith.
Vito Parisi, we do see your note. So Mary and Lisa are taking care of that. If you can notice in the, this was sent to me privately. So there's, it says Elijah Vucago, and that's actually a member called Vito Parisi, if you wouldn't mind. If you have questions on that, I'll try forward that chat to you because they're using the Zoom sign-in of their grandson, and that's fine because they are members. So
Yeah, Vito's a longtime member.
yeah.
I just sent a message to Bob also.
Oh, great. So, well, we'll, yeah, I'll try to get that over to the people that are doing the thing. Then let's see. So Bob mentioned that he got a new 12 station from Raccio.
No. That's from Bert Smith.
Oh, that's from Bert. Okay. Yeah, Bert. So Raccio. So Bert, are you in the SMUD area? I'll unmute you, Bert. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Bert.
Sorry, I had tape on my mouth. Okay.
On your mouth?
No, not really. This is
You're
what
being
I
held hostage?
yeah, this is what I just bought.
Yeah, so Raccio is great. They work with the iPhone and everything else. By the way, anybody that's in the SMUD area, you can get the Raccio super cheap because they give you all kinds of rebates with it. Works with the iPhone. You can control your sprinklers. The nice thing about the Raccio is it'll reach out to the closest weather station. And if it rains a bunch that day, it will make your sprinklers automatically not go on. And it's just fantastic. So you say
Which one?
You're probably
Which?
Raccio. If you go to smudenergystore.com, you can find it in there. And Raccio is the one. I'm not sure if it's the 12 station or the 16 or the 8 that's there, but it's great.
Is it the third generation that you got, Bertie?
Right. Here it is. Raccio. I don't know if you can see it. Raccio 3. I just got it today at Costco because
The nice thing
Costco has it on sale.
The nice thing about the 3 is that it's compatible with HomeKit. So you can tell Siri to turn on your sprinklers, and you can control your sprinklers from the Home app directly. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah,
This leads to my question.
yeah, so you said your iPhone has limited storage. The Raccio app takes up very little room. So first of all, you're on a 6S. So it'd be time to get into this decade and maybe update your phone and also get more storage, or there's ways to create a little bit extra storage on it. But an app, the only load on your storage on your phone is the size of the app, and those things aren't usually that big. Yes, it does a lot, but it doesn't mean the app's taking up a lot of room.
Okay, my question was, can I just do it on my iPad? The iPad I just picked up last May.
You could do it on both, and yes, it's not an issue. But the beauty of the iPhone is you're sitting at Rotary one morning and you remember that you need to do something because you're constantly connected to the internet, because you don't have to just be on your network at home. You can be anywhere in the world and control your sprinklers.
Right. Well, when I travel, I take my iPad with me because I can do FaceTime with my children for free.
Yeah.
And I never use the phone for long distance in other countries. It's a great camera.
Yeah.
So that was my question. If I can just download the app on my iPad, does that then preclude you from using it on your iPhone?
No.
Okay.
And you would just always use the same account.
Okay. And Apple HomeKit, that's at the Apple Store or online at the Apple site, right?
No, HomeKit is actually built in to the OS. And what that allows you to do is to use Siri and set up schedules and things like that. So first you would get the app set up and then it interacts with HomeKit.
So it's already built into my iPad.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Now, do you need Alexa for that?
Well, Alexa's a whole different thing. That's a different kind of connection like HomeKit.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is probably a little deep for this Q&A. So, but walk before you run, put the app on there and just do it. It's wonderful. Pete's bringing it up right here. The beauty of setting up the Ratio app is you can go and take a picture of each of your stations, like, oh, these are my front shrubs, or this is my back lawn and things like that. And you actually put that picture, so when you're trying to pull it up, you see it on your device. So
Great.
Ratio is fantastic. So I know a couple people have your hand up. I'll get right to you. The last one here with Christina. The light on the screen is off when you go into settings as well. The video icon indicates video is on. Christina, you may even have some other application that's trying to use your video camera before Zoom can use your video camera, is the only thing I can think of. So that's pretty much all we can do on that right now. Royce, you have a question?
That's a very common one. Bertie, one last question. I'm sorry, that wasn't Bertie. Bertie had the Ratio. But one last question. Do you often use Skype? Is Skype something that's on your MacBook Pro, or do you?
That's for you, Christina.
I had it years ago, but somebody,
No. That's where this is for Christina because of the camera. Sorry.
thank you.
Yes,
Sorry,
I
Bertie.
do have family meetings with Skype.
Yeah, it's probably competing for camera control.
Ah, I will investigate. Thank you.
And
Sure.
Pete, is the best way to completely make sure that Skype is not fired up in that case and then refire Zoom?
Yeah, make sure it's not running in the background or not utilizing the camera. Skype has a lot of tentacles. It's like an Adobe product. There's a lot of tentacles and a lot of things that can be frustrating about Skype.
It's owned by Microsoft.
Well, yes, it is. And the app was off on my laptop.
Yeah, but sometimes it still has gathered hold on that. So many times, even though it's off, you may have to restart and make sure it isn't coming on automatically. That helps a little bit.
All right. Thank you.
Royce, you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
No.
Okay, let me see.
No, we can. I wouldn't have been able to hear you say, can you hear me?
When you said reboot, did you mean reboot Zoom or reboot your computer and your iOS devices?
In what regard?
You said you should reboot it every couple weeks.
Oh, your computer. Obviously, it'll shut down Zoom when you do that. But if I'm going to host a meeting, Zoom's pretty critical. So I make sure I reboot my computer if I'm doing a important Zoom session. But your computer, you should reboot every couple weeks. And like Pete said, even iOS devices. My iPhone has been fantastic, but it just started heating up the other day. There were not any problematic apps and stuff. I rebooted it. It's been fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If you don't have your hand up, that's okay. Just unmute yourself and ask from the audience here. And otherwise, we're going to move on.
Can you
So-
see me?
Yep, go ahead.
How do you get the background?
Well, it depends on the capability of your computer and your operating system, but
I'm on a iMac desktop. So
yeah, so what operating system are you running?
two versions back.
So High Sierra?
Yes.
Okay, I think it works in High Sierra, but the other component of it is you have to have a powerful graphics card or you have to have a green screen.
Yeah, this has a.
So if you go back, there's a recording that I did about how to set up Zoom and stuff, and that's all in there. Or if you hang around at the end, I can maybe go through that with you.
Okay. I'll look
And
it up.
if you want a background like I have, you have to get up really early in the morning and go out by Rancho Cordova after a rainstorm with really good sunrise.
There's also, the Zoom website has a lot of good short tutorials.
Yeah, oh yeah, the Zoom website's fantastic. So, or just Google Zoom and then your question, and it's amazing how well it works. And Pete is the Zoom guru, but and we have, I think we recorded his presentation of it, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, moving on along. Let's see here. because we do want to leave Pete plenty of time. So that's Tech Q&A, volunteer member announcements. Anybody else? Any other
Ken,
questions?
one thing I did paste in the chat is a guide on how to hard reboot your iOS device. It's an Apple knowledge article. So you just pick your operating system at the top, and then it'll show you on your model of phone how to do what they call a hard reboot. And sorry, I was kind of late getting in here, Ken. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No, this is perfect.
yep, a hard reboot is different than turning it off and turning it on. A hard reboot is equivalent to the voodoo of the zapping the PRAM. Anybody remember that voodoo? We used to zap the PRAM on our Mac.
Back with our SCSI devices.
The old
Yeah.
copper.
Yeah. It's that same kind of voodoo where when you do this hard reboot, it rearranges some things and really gets your iOS, sort of sandbox back into order. So hard reboot, I do mine about once every couple of days, but I'm a power user. I probably utilize a dozen different apps every hour with my job and things like that. But for anybody who's an ordinary user, I would say at least, well, like Ken said, that's great guidance. Every 2 weeks, give yourself a hard reboot on your iOS devices, even your watch, if you're a watch user, because lots of the gremlins just dry up and disappear when you do that hard reboot.
Yeah, and it really, I say at least every 2 weeks, or if something just seems a little wonky, do that, and 98% of the time it's going to cure problems. I mean, how many times have people called me and said, hey, my mail's not getting my mail in my box. Okay, reboot, call me back if it doesn't work. Well, I never get that call back. So it's really just a matter of it aligns everything up. The stars are in alignment, the sun, the moon comes up, everything, and it's just great. And it really is a big difference. So the way you can access the link that Pete just mentioned, and you can save the chat at the end, but if you go on your device and you click on chat, there's a pop-out window, and Pete has a wonderful link there that you can do that, and you can do that while the meeting's going on. It will just open in your browser behind the scenes, and then you can come back into the Zoom window and continue watching what you're doing there. So that's fine, and that looks like that covered Jan Berry's question too, Pete.
Can I just ask a question? I was just trying to do that with my iPhone 11, and it just keeps activating Siri. I mean, I'm holding down the volume button and then the other volume button, and then
actually, yeah, it's a little process. It's a volume up, volume down, and do it, but it's
exactly, yeah. You would tap volume up and let it go. You would tap volume down and let it go, and then you would hold that, what you're calling the Siri button or the side button. Yeah, and they're different for different. Whoever that was just tried it on the device that they were on Zoom with, just cut themselves off.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Left the room, but yeah, that's where you would do that.
Okay, I'll just keep trying then, because
yeah,
I tried it like 4 times and I keep having the same result.
Well, what I find is a lot of time that's called the sleep wake button on the right hand side. Many times you inadvertently also hit the volume button again because you're trying to squeeze the darn phone. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Now, this only applies to Face ID phones. If you have a fingerprint ID or a Touch ID phone, then that's a little different process. So again, if you go to the links that Pete said, you'll be in, because iPads are different in different models at different times. Okay? Fantastic. So we normally go through news and rumors and everything. Al probably has a couple things, but everything happened in Apple last Tuesday or last Monday. And so that's what Pete's going to cover, is the WWDC, the Worldwide Developer Conference. And it was amazing. Al, go ahead and kind of, you've got probably some top hits, and I encourage you guys, if you're on our Facebook group, if you're on the MacNexus Facebook group, Al does such a great job of linking articles that are out there from all the Mac sites, and it's tremendous information. And really, it's so thorough that I use it as my go-to anymore. And Al, I appreciate your work doing that.
All good. It's all good. Well, like Ken said, the big event this week, it's probably one of most memorable WWDCs in recent memory. There's a lot of things were revealed. Of course, gave us a prelude to the fall release of the new Mac OS. They finally are getting beyond the 10 point whatever. They actually moved. It was a big enough of an upgrade that actually moving it to Mac OS 11, and that will be called Big Sur,
which is right behind you.
which is right behind me. Looks like that. It's so it's it'll do a multitude of things, and probably one of the biggest things is Apple's creating their own hardware, Apple Silicon, and getting away from some of the Intel stuff. It'll be roughly a 2-year transition, they're talking, and they'll still make some of the Intel-based machines, apparently, according to the keynote. But big things in the works. It'll give them some efficiencies that they don't have now. But it'll probably take a few years for some of the pros and stuff to get on board with. But pretty exciting stuff. The new iOS 14. If you can run it on 13, if you're able to run iOS 13, you should be able to run iOS 14. And I have a link there on our Facebook page there that has a link with all the devices that it goes all the way back to like the iPhone 6s Plus, the 2016 iPhone SE, all the way up to, of course, this year's stuff. So pretty
Great.
good stuff. Yeah.
Thanks. And I'll tell you, it's neat stuff, but don't be tempted to put any of these pre-release or these betas on any mission critical device.
Absolutely.
We don't do that, and you shouldn't, because it's called beta for a reason. And it's not worth the headache.
Yeah.
But it is neat to try out. Most of us try it on other than mission critical devices.
Yeah. The public beta will be released apparently next month in July for all you brave souls that may have an extra device, you want to play with it and get up to speed. But like Ken said, it's called beta for a reason. The Apple released a trailer for some next year for anyone who's a sci-fi interest or anyone who loves the old Foundation series. They actually going to release a trailer for that. Looks promising. Look forward to seeing that.
And that's follow through with what that's a follow-up of.
Yeah. Well, the Foundation series was a book by Isaac Asimov.
Yeah.
And it'll probably never be as good as the book, because the book's multiple books, and it covers a really large, elongated story arc. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do, and I just hope it's not too splashy with too many special effects. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. It should be fun.
Right.
Yep. Apparently, with iOS 14, some of the HomeKit cameras will be able to do smart face recognition. Some Apple TV integration. That's a little blurb of that. Let me see. There's of course, there's a new release of there'll be iPad OS 14 out there, and that should run on an iPad Air 2 or later, iPad Pro all models, iPad 5th generation and later, iPad Mini 4 and later. Those are the models that shouldn't have any problem running that.
Great. And I think Pete's going to go into pretty good detail on most of this, and then it's going to happen as it goes along. But again, you can go to apple.com, and there's some great videos, and they're still doing a tremendous amount of things, and you can go watch even these. If you really want to get geeked out, you can go in these developer sessions. So Al, thank you very much. And again, thanks for continuing to post in the Facebook groups. We did have one question come up. No, we don't post this on the website, the links. Basically, Al is just linking out to other websites out there. But if you go to the MacNexus website, there are 6 or 8 news feeds that I have linked in there, and they're constantly scrolling. So that information is there. So I know some of you don't want to do Facebook. That's your choice, but that's the one location where you can find those things.
I'll post some of the links here in the chat if anyone's
Great.
interested.
And so again, at the end, everybody will explain to you how you can download chat. The messages and those links will be live in the one you download. So any other quick question? We've probably got time for one more because I do want to have us have a little break here, and then we'll be able to bring Pete in a little bit early so he can get on with his vacation. So any other questions from the audience? Speak up. There's a hand raised. Bert, unmute yourself. Bert?
Here. Quick one. How do you find your MacNexus Facebook group?
Just do a search in Facebook, go MacNexus, and it should show up. And then I think we have to approve you for entry into it. But if you have trouble finding that, Bert, just send me an email and I'll send you.
There's also a link on the website.
Oh, great! On our regular MacNexus.org website.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so let's do a quick little break. It's 7:38. I encourage anybody, if you have an iOS device, you're going to want to probably mute it and not take it with you, because filling up your glass in the refrigerator sounds suspiciously like other things. So you may not want to do that when it would be.
Park has a question and he keeps waving his hands.
Who?
Richard Park.
Well, Richard, go ahead. Richard, unmute yourself and ask away. Richard Park.
Yeah.
You have
We
to
can
hold
hear
your
you.
space bar down.
This is Jim Park.
Okay, well, whoever, ask the question.
Well, I have an iPhone 6, I believe it is, and the screen seems to be coming off the phone itself. Can you just glue that back on and not have any problems?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
just
yeah.
take a baling wire.
Just take some 5-minute epoxy and dump it in there and squeeze it together and hold it, count to 10, and should be fine.
Thank you.
No,
Yeah, no
he's
problem.
totally kidding. You know, it's a 6. Talk to your carrier, see if they have a good deal, because that phone's kind of end of life anyway, and your battery probably does not work too well. You might even go in the classified. You might have somebody that'll sell you a very new phone, like an iPhone 7 or something like that, because that phone is that's a 6-year-old phone.
Yeah, five years old, I think.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think you deserve it. So you should look at it. And I'll tell you, the phone out there that's just a powerhouse for a great bargain is the iPhone SE for $399. That phone it's hard to usually say that it's a bargain or great value on some iPhone models, but that thing is just out of the park.
So
And I should remind you, though, this fall, usually in September, indications are it might roll to October, the new phones will be out. So current phones will drop $100 and will have other things, but that's a fantastic phone.
And if you haven't checked out the Apple upgrade program for your phone, I'll never, you gotta check that thing out. There's no better deal than that Apple upgrade program. You're beholden to nobody. You're not locked into a carrier. You're not locked into a lender. It's you and Apple.
Yep. And you pay monthly for your phone, and you can turn your phone in after a year. Your payments continue, and they give you the next phone for next year. And it's a guilty pleasure of mine, and it just is nice. And you look forward to the new releases.
on the Apple website?
What's that?
Is that on the Apple website?
Yeah, so what you do is you sign up, so you purchase the phone and you get into the upgrade program. So you're not really purchasing a phone, you're making monthly payments. And essentially you're making a 24, it would be the equivalent of splitting it into 24 payments. But after a year, you can upgrade to another phone. You give them that phone, they give you a new one, and you continue paying with whatever if this phone is the same price, your payments would continue at that price. And it does include, you pay for it, but it does include Apple Care Plus. And it would have covered that screen, but only for the first 2 years. So I think you're kind of out of that. And I'll tell you, you could probably, I don't even know if for a 6 or even a 6S, if Apple has replacement screens for that anymore. if they did, you always, for batteries and screens, absolutely only ever use Apple. But otherwise on that, yeah, if you want to get some life into it, you might find some guy in a garage that might be able to replace your screen for you, but don't count on it working great.
Hey, Al and I are furiously posting links there in the chat. So anybody who's curious, there's lots of good info in there for you. I posted the Apple Upgrade Program link in there and some other things about what we've been talking about. So if you're not keeping up with chat, you may want to check that out. And my advice is, Ken said it earlier, great advice, Ken. Click the link and then just leave it open in your browser. You don't have to explore it right now since we're in a meeting, right? But just click the link and leave it open. When the meeting's over, you'll have it open. You won't have to worry about where that link was or chasing down Zoom. Then just go check out those links after the show.
And once you click on one link, if you click on another link, it's not going to replace the link you were at. It'll open up in a new tab or a new window, depending on your settings. So those will all be there at the end. You don't have to read them now because in a few minutes when Pete gets started on his, you're going to want to give that the full attention because this was truly an exciting time for Apple. And I should point out that Apple, not so much today, but yesterday, it's been going up huge. And in fact, Apple is at an all-time high. And they are now not just a $1 trillion company, they're over a $1.5 trillion company. And they're 20% away from being a $2 trillion company in market cap. So
Al's celebrating over there because he owns 2 full shares of Apple stock.
Oh no. What is it?
It's now 7:45 or 7:43, excuse me. So let's go ahead and let's take a break. And we want to get started right at 7:53. So 10 minutes, go grab some more water, do what you need to do, and then come on back. I'll stay here right now if anybody has any questions. You need to look at your device and make sure we have your first and last name. I'll go through that and see if I can see anybody that's lacking. And otherwise, you can unmute yourself. You can talk amongst yourselves. When Pete comes back on, we're going to mute everybody's microphones, so that won't be an issue. Thank you.
Hey, Al.
I have a question. First of all, I don't find the raise your hand thing.
Because you're a co-host.
I am?
Yes, I can make you a non-co-host if you want.
Okay, no, that's fine.
That was just so you guys could help manage this thing if needed.
Okay, and the next question is, it seems like my iPad has more internet ability than my phone does. I have an iPhone 11
When you say
SR.
internet ability, what does that mean?
Well, I can go outside and I can use my iPad, but my phone doesn't go onto my internet. Is that normal or not?
Is your phone, you mean it's not on your Wi-Fi?
Right.
Your phone should be on your Wi-Fi.
Well,
if not, put it on your Wi-Fi.
Well, it's on my Wi-Fi in the house. If I go outside, it flakes and goes off the Wi-Fi, but my iPad does not.
So iPad has a bigger antenna in it, and it's probably an edge case or a little bit of a borderline situation.
Router coverage.
Yeah. It's your iPad may stay connected, but it might be a bit slower. So it's really just the router. But again, you've got a bigger battery for more power, and you have a bigger antenna in the iPad. And that obviously is why you're getting a better signal.
Okay.
Scott, you've got a question? Have to unmute yourself. Your hand is up. Scott's iPad. Scott, if you're a member, you need to tap in the upper right where it says participants, and the top one will say Scott's iPad me. You need to change that so we have your first and last name if you want to participate in the raffle.
Got it. Thank
there you go. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Ken.
Yeah, somebody named iPhone was just asking that same question in chat, and same thing, just tap the participants button in the little Zoom control cluster, and then under there you'll see your name. If you tap your name, there'll be a rename option there.
Yeah, and you're always the top one, and it's in parentheses says me. Not me, but you, me. So iPhone 3, somebody that needs to get updated.
Where is the hand on the, I'm using a MacBook Pro.
So you tap the participants button,
Yeah.
and when it slides out at the bottom of that,
Oh,
window,
raise hand at the
is
bottom.
raise
Okay.
hand.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions, issues while we're waiting?
Well,
Yes.
I'm gonna tell Al something.
Okay, if he's there.
Are you there, Al?
Nope.
Well,
Mr.
Bob,
Donovan.
while I've got you, I said there's some people that I'm not sure are on the list. So if you can check the chat, there's some names that I'm
Hey,
not
did you
sure
guys-
are members.
Mary, did you get my information on Parisi?
I didn't see it, but I'll check.
Okay, so then the name is, let me find it. Oh, where'd it go? Okay. We have somebody called Elijah Bucago is their
Vito's
name
using,
on here, but that is actually the member named Vito Parisi. So
Yeah.
when you see Elijah Bucago, that is a member named Vito Parisi. So you can assign a number to Elijah Bucago.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I'm messing up that name. Don McBride, you have your hand up, and Clarice, I'll get to you in a minute. Clarice, you don't have your audio enabled, so you may have to do that. You're going to have your microphone. You might tap your microphone. You might have a permission issue on that because we're not going to be able to hear you. If not, log out and log back in and allow it to use computer audio. Don McBride, go ahead.
Yeah, I have an iPhone 7 Plus, and I was just looking at the specs on the SE. It looks like it's actually a little bigger than the 7 Plus. Is that a little longer, the same width? And I'm just wondering about other specs compared to the 7 Plus.
Well, see, the difference with it is it's a Face ID phone, so you don't have the touchpad, so it's not only longer, it's actually a bigger screen, but obviously it's not a tremendous amount wider, but it's more screen area. And the specs on it, it's the same chip as the iPhone 11. I mean, that's a powerful, powerful phone.
Same the camera. How's the camera?
Camera is not as good as in the 11 Pros, but it's good.
It's going to be better than my 7.
7, I would say. Now, are you on the 7 Plus or the 7?
7 Plus.
Okay, so I think is it longer than the 7 Plus?
Well, it's the spec for the length, and I guess that's the case, not the screen. It doesn't say.
Yeah, you want to go by case if you're looking for the feel. The screen is going to be much bigger because it is a longer phone.
Yeah.
Okay, Clarice, if you can speak, go ahead. I'll lower your hand, but I think you need to log out and log back in because I don't show that you have a microphone available. Feel free to text me if you need to.
I think she just logged out because her name just
Okay.
disappeared.
So anyone else on naming? Mary and Lisa, did you guys get that name squared away that I just told you? Did that work out okay? So we have a Sharon's iPad. Sharon, unmute yourself and let us know if you can hear me. Sharon's iPad, if you're on an iPad, tap the screen, go to participants. Under participants, the top person says me. Go ahead and tap on that and rename yourself so we have your last name so you can participate in the raffle. Yeah, Clarice, I still see you on there, but for some reason your microphone is not available, which means when you logged in, you didn't allow it to do computer audio. So my recommendation is reboot your computer and connect back up. Let's see. Any other questions from the crowd? You can unmute yourself. We're a couple minutes away from going live with Pete again.
This is Don again.
Yeah, go
As
ahead.
far as getting an SE, does it make any difference if I get it from the Apple Store or order it right or Verizon?
Who's your carrier?
Verizon.
Oh, you like being punished. Okay. If you get it from Apple, Verizon's are unlocked anyway because that's an agreement they have. Check if your carrier has any deals.
Yeah.
If they don't, it's a lot smoother and easier to get it from Apple. But look for deals. Best Buy sometimes has a deal, and different carriers. But yeah, it's and it's super easy. What phone do you have now? You have a 7 Plus, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to be able to bring all your data over to the new phone is so easy. So you don't have to have them do it. In fact, Verizon usually messes that up. Apple will do it, or realistically, Apple will just send it to you and you walk right through it. It's the easiest thing in the world. So, okay, Scott, you're next, and then Bev, you'll be after that. Go ahead, Scott.
Ken, what's the link to the chat?
Oh, if you're on, are you on an iPad or a Mac?
iPad.
Okay, so you tap, there's a button for chat. Tap the screen. I'm sorry, I don't have my iPad on. You tap the button and there should be under
I see. I see.
ellipsis,
Okay.
I believe it, chat, and then you'll see the chat thing down there. Okay?
Got it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And
Zoom controls are notoriously finicky because they disappear all the time. I think it's Zoom's way of trying to get them out of your way so you can see just the interface, but it gets kind of pesky because you have to tap to make the controls appear and then operate them, and then they go away. So it is a little bit odd sometimes with the Zoom controls, for sure.
Yeah, there is a setting to make them persistent, but we don't need to on that. Bev, you had a question?
Oh, not a question. I just wanted to do a shout out to say welcome to Karma, the new member. We know each other from times past, from professional circles. So
Great.
welcome, Karma.
Good. Yes, welcome, Karma. Thank you. Okay, and all right, so we're up to 76, which is great. I can't remember if that's a record for us. Before I go into Pete real quick, Lisa and Mary, are there any things we need to address that you guys covered on your end for the different people? I guess you probably are. Good. Okay. Oh, Bill, there's a Bill here. Bill, you need
Ken?
Yeah.
There's a couple of names that we're just trying to double check. So if people can just kind of be quiet or whatever, so the names don't keep popping up, we can check this.
Well, if you unmute, so you can unmute that person and that'll make them go to the top.
I know, but the problem is trying to get, the list keeps changing as people change.
Yeah,
that.
but that's,
so if they can just be.
Well, when we start Pete, I'm going to mute everyone except Pete. Or I'll mute everyone and then I'll unmute Pete. But we do have Clarice is back with us now. So Clarice, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, hi, Ken. On my iPad, Facebook has been working fine until yesterday. And then I click on it and it flashes and then disappears.
And
I turned the machine off and started it again.
Yeah, so Pete has, well, first of all, you force quit the Facebook app, and it's terrible code that Facebook uses and Messenger. But
I thought maybe all my prayers were being answered, that Facebook was actually going away. I was like, oh, this is terrific, but I guess not.
Yeah, good. I agree. So Pete not being on Facebook surreptitiously. Anyway, so Clarice, in the link in the chat window, Pete has a link on how to do a hard reboot on your device, and that should help you with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and welcome back in. So, okay, that being said, I'm going to mute all and then bring Pete back in. Okay. Fantastic. So, again, Pete Lozzi, it gives me great pleasure anytime we have Pete, and half the time it's when I'm not here, but this one I get to be here and see what he has. And Pete has such a great way of going down and digging into the details, and he knows Macs picks Apple products pixel by pixel. So it's a deep dive, and frankly, it's better than you're going to get from any of the pundits out there and stuff. And so and Pete, in his real life, he goes both ways and can kind of see which products, how it appears in the real world, and deals with that. So without further ado, Pete Lozzi, thank you very much for interrupting your vacation and being here and joining us.
Thank you very much, Ken. I think I'll just kick off with the camera just so I can say hello and check in with everybody, and then I'll turn it off and I'll do a screen share here in a moment. I'll probably, or Ken, you might want to pin my.
I just did. I spotlighted you.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
We like what you've done with your hair. That's a COVID haircut, right?
Oh, yes, yes. I am definitely, this is definitely vacation hair, but I am going.
You're giving Craig Federighi a run for his money.
Yes, yes. I'm Hair Force One now, so he has to get out of the way. Yeah, I'm definitely having some hair issues, but I'm embracing it. I'm loving it. I could have thrown a hat on or not come on camera, but gosh, how often do you get to have crazy hair like this? But so first of all, thank you very much for having me. As I start every one of these presentations with, this is one of my favorite crowds to get in front of and come hang out for a bit. You ask great questions, you're really engaged, and love the way that you guys use the platform, both iOS, macOS, tvOS, iPadOS, and so really honored to be here, being able to help out, make a meaningful contribution and answer some questions and stuff like that. Today we're talking about WWDC, that's Worldwide Developers Conference, and that's the one time a year when Apple used to congregate in a certain spot with all of their chief engineers and developers, software developers. Then they would call up all of the other independent software developers and say, hey, come join us at this venue so we can get together, and our Apple, certified experts will strengthen your knowledge of the platform, thus making you better third-party developers and thus making the Apple platform more powerful. So it's just probably the coolest moment of the year for the geeks, right? For the people who are really excited about what Apple is doing under the hood, right? I mean, when you see a shiny new Dodge Viper, maybe it looks cool, but under the hood is where a lot of the technologies and differentiators lie. And so, with these devices, it's no different. The devices are cool looking, but under the hood is what differentiates them from all the competition. So WWDC is Apple's chance. Here's what's interesting about WWDC too. It's Apple's chance, not just, look, WWDC isn't really meant for us. We're consumers, right? We're consumers, and some of us are enthusiasts, and some of us are fanatics, and some of us may just be fanatical or zealots. Who knows? Count me in there if you're one of them. But WWDC and even the keynote and the announcement of WWDC wasn't really meant for us per se. Apple does live stream it, and all of us nerds tend to tune in, but who Tim Cook and Craig Federighi and the other heads of department at Apple, who they're really talking to is developers. And what they're telling developers is, hey, we just had a great year.
It's 8 o'clock.
Hey, we just had a great year. Now we're getting you set up for the year ahead. We're packing in new hardware technologies for you to take advantage of, new software technologies for you to take advantage of. And here are the ways you can leverage our platform for the things that you want to do with your app. So it's a great way for us geeks to get a sneak peek. It's not really a consumer-facing announcement, so some consumers get lost during WWDC, right? They're like, oh, well, I don't know what that is. I don't know what Metal is. I don't know what, ARKit is. You get lost in some of these technologies, but us nerds are able to kind of decipher it and figure out, okay, based on that, here's what we can expect, or here's what's cool coming up. I highly encourage you to do either one of two things. One, watch the entire keynote. This is almost 2 hours long. So if you're bored, put it on and check it out. Every minute of it was interesting and relevant to me, but it may not be to you, but that's the beauty of fast forward. Just click ahead if you're seeing something that you don't understand or don't care for. But if you don't watch the whole thing, if you search YouTube, there's tons of creators out there who have made videos called everything you need to know about WWDC in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. So they've taken all the points of WWDC and scrunched them down. You might be asking, well, why don't you just play that darn video here, and that way we can get Pete to zip it. But then you don't get commentary. What I like to do is take the things that are being announced, pull them down to my level or our level, and talk about how those will be important for us as consumers, right? Not, hey, here's why it's important for developers, but here's also why it'll be important and perhaps revolutionary for us. So without further ado, I'll dive in. However, I did want to take a breath and pause and see if anybody had any remarks to add to that or any questions before I stop my camera, start my screen share, and get started walking through the content.
Anyone, you can either raise your hand or just unmute yourself and talk real quick. And if not, I'm sure we'll have great questions afterwards, Pete. Thank you. I'm going to turn off your spotlight and we should have your screen share in a second.
Yeah, looks like
perfect.
Let's get over here to where I need to be. One more zip. Nope, one more zip. Hey, where am I? Oh, I'm opening all this stuff. Here we go. Okay, my screen is painted for you, I hope, at this time, and my audio is still coming through good?
Yes, fine.
Very good, just checking. So let's flip. This is the, I think this is the third year. Yeah, this will be the third year that all the OSs have been separated out into their silos. And so we used to talk Mac OS, right? Mac OS used to be all we talked about. And then iPhone came along and there we had iOS. And then iPads tended to stretch the boundaries of the iPhone OS, right? iOS. They tended to stretch those boundaries because they had that nice big screen. So Apple created their own software for iPads called iPad OS. And then we had these watches, right, that we're all wearing, or many of us are wearing. And that has a version of iOS, right? That's called watchOS. And then our Apple TVs have tvOS. So believe it or not, they're all based on the macOS kernel. They're all born, they were all given birth from the macOS kernel. iOS was born, and then iOS, iPadOS, watchOS, and tvOS. And did you know there's also an OS for the touch bar on MacBook Pros? So I know a couple of you on this call have a MacBook Pro with that touch bar right above the keyboard. That has its own OS as well. However, they don't publicize it much because it's just a really small sliver and not super exciting. But here's what we're going to walk through today. I'm going to go in this order, and I'm just going to recap what was announced to us and really just try to tie that together with why that's cool. What does that mean for us? What will that allow us to do that we aren't already doing? The iPhone, or iOS, is Apple's darling, as you know. I haven't Googled this in a while. I'm probably way off, but this was an interesting statistic a few years ago when it reached this level. Apple's iPhone division, now just let this sink in for a second. Apple's iPhone division a few years ago became larger than all of Microsoft. I just love saying that. Even though Microsoft has turned a corner and I have a newfound respect for them, I'm a Windows expert. I embrace the platform. However, at one point, because we were the underdog, it's like when the Patriots were 1-16 for so many years, and then they created this dynasty. You've all been around since we were the underdog, but at some point, Apple's iPhone division only outstretched all of Microsoft, and that's including their Xbox, their gaming division, all of Microsoft. So I thought that was interesting. It was a triumph in my own head and heart, and something to behold, something truly to behold in our lifetime to see that happen. Well, with the iPhone being the darling, that's the thing we all carry around all day long, and we look at it hundreds of times a day. In fact, you can snitch on yourself by looking at screen time. And I don't know if you guys have dropped in there yet, but if you look at screen time, it will tell you how many times you look at your phone a day. That's scary, but it knows when your eyes are on it because it has the Face ID and the dot projector and stuff. It can tell you how many times you look at your phone a day. How many times did you pick it up? How many times did you unlock it? How many times did you look at it? Amazing stuff. But this is the device we have in our hands all day, every day. And they've made some enhancements to it. Here are the 3 icons representing the enhancements, but I'll just step through them. 1 is the new home screen, 2 is widgets, and 3 is what they call picture-in-picture. So diving in a little bit to each one of those. These are some examples here of what your home screen can look like if you so wish once you upgrade to iOS 14. The notable differences and things to see here are gone are the days of all of your apps being one small square. And now you're going to get the choice of what they're calling widgets. So if you look at these screens, we have 4 of them displayed here. And if you look, each one is a different model phone, so a different size screen. And each one has a bit of a different configuration based on what that user wanted on their home screen. Let's just go all the way to the one on the right. I'm just going to pick that one to talk about here. What Apple has done is opened it up for developers, right? That's all the software developers that might make your favorite apps like Facebook or whatever your favorite apps might be, Instagram or whatever they are. Apple's opened it up to developers to go ahead and create what they're calling widgets. And widgets are different size windows of information that you can display right on your home screen, right in with all your apps, that will give you at a glance more info. And developers have been given the option to create widgets in 3 sizes. There's small, medium, and large, I think are the 3 sizes of widgets, or yeah, small, medium, large are the 3 sizes. We don't see any large ones here. All we see is small and medium. If you look over to the right, this user on the phone on the right has decided that they want their stock ticker to be larger, right? So they've put a widget there. Now that widget, if you tap it, will take you right to the stock ticker. But widgets can also be swiped, so you see that widget on that home screen there. If you were curious to see what your next stock symbol was, you could just tap that widget and swipe. And if your next stock symbol was HPQ, let's say, then you would see that displayed there. This prevents you from having to launch an app every time you want to grab some data. And you can see there's some pretty useful things here. The third one from the left has a calendar widget, which spells out what's coming next. And also the weather, a little bit more detail on the weather. And then if you look at the second one, you have yet more detail on the weather, right? There's an example of a small widget and a medium widget. The small one is the square, and the medium one is the rectangle. Now the large one is one that takes up about half of the screen, and that can be useful too if you need information at a glance there. You can see that they've added a widget for photos, which I'm saying thank goodness, because many of you drive me crazy by doing this. You take a great photograph of kids or grandkids, or maybe it's even your car, and you put it behind your apps. And all the apps are over the photo and you can't tell what it is, but it's really distracting and messy. Well, now people who enjoy that, they like to see their kids or their grandkids or whatever behind their apps there. You can put sort of a framed photo right on the screen there, like you see all the way to the right. So that fourth phone there, you can put an image there and you can lock it in. Or you can have a little slideshow there that changes every few seconds. You get to decide. But enhancing the home screen like this, I think, is an exciting and a welcome addition. I mean, you've got the ability to create these spaces customized to your needs that give you the information quite a bit faster than going to dig inside of an app to find it. Since Apple has opened this up to all developers, we will see mixed results. Some developers will be right out front with a widget, and they can't wait to get that widget in your hands, and other developers might take a while. So if you're wondering if your particular favorite app is going to have a widget, that remains to be seen. But once we get closer to iOS 14 launching, I'm sure we'll have another meeting where I can show you how to check and all that stuff. Next up, we're going through phases here. You're either an emoji person or you're not. That narrative used to be 5 years ago, you're either a text message person or you're not. I don't have to ask that question anymore in today's world because you lost. If you weren't a text message person, you are now. All of us are. We're all texting using the Messages app, even though many of us kicked and screamed, right? We said, I'll never text, I just call, or I'll just call or email. But the generation coming up now doesn't even know what phone calls are. My daughter is 19 and We might have talked on the phone 3 times in the last 3 months. The rest is text and pictures and things like that. So if you're not an emoji person, if you're going, I don't like those things, you're a waste of time, waste of screen space, well, they're here to stay. So what Apple's done is doubled down on the Memoji. This is the version of emoji that you get to create for yourself. So you can see here from this grid that I've got showing that they've really doubled down. They've made lots of different attributes available to everybody for a further customization. We're talking about different color hair or headscarves and wraps. They've even added face coverings this year. You can put a mask on your Memoji if you want. So lots more to come. And then in this slide, you see they've added new ages to the Memojis. So you've got in the upper left, the youngest, and then in the lower right, the oldest version of the same character. So you can have a bit more control over the age. I think there were only 3 before, but they've added 6. So that's, let me go back. That's a bit about, let me get back here. Oh, you're lagging on me. Okay, yeah, that's a bit about the widgets, and that's a bit about Memojis and emojis. Hey, leave a comment in the chat. Go ahead right now in Zoom if you feel like it. Let me know. Are you an emoji person or are you not an emoji person? I'm just curious what happens there. I won't check it now, but I'll continue with my presentation. But I'll be curious later to go back and see down there in the chat who says yay or who says nay to emojis or Memojis. Do you like those little hearts and people and faces, or are you nah, you don't like it? And then I wanted to point out some more changes to the apps we use the most. This one here is the Messages app. And gosh, is there some great improvements here. Like on the left, that's your Messages screen, but now reimagined for iOS 14. Those bubbles you see at the top are people that you've chosen and pinned there, right? You get to choose. You get to choose those 9 spaces. Now, I don't know about you, but people are going to be sour grapes if they don't make my top 9 spaces up there. I can just hear my mom now. How come I'm not up there and you're pinned people? But all those people that you see in that phone on the left have been pinned to the top. Now, the beauty of this is that those are the people you communicate with the most. You get to choose who gets pinned. You can pin 1 person or you can pin 9 people. It's up to you. There are animations now too, where you see those people on that phone on the left. You've got Janelle and Kathy, Michael. Well, if they text you, a little speech bubble appears right over their photo. So as soon as you go to the Messages app now, you get a nice visual representation of your pinned people, and you can see their messages right away. I don't know about you, but when I go to Messages, sometimes I have to scroll to find the message, or I'm looking for the person's name, and it's a little bit difficult to find from time to time. But now with these pinned people, I think it'll be real easy to jump in and continue my conversations with those folks. The one in the middle is an example of Memoji stickers. These are stickers that you can use in place of standard emojis, and the stickers are customized. So why this is different than a regular Memoji is that the Memoji is a property you can use to be sort of a puppet for your face, right? You can open the Memoji and you can sort of behave like a puppet. When you move your mouth, it moves. When you move your eyebrows, it moves. For those of you who have a phone with Face ID, I highly recommend, if you haven't already, checking out Memoji. If nothing else, just for the remarkable technology. Now you may never use your Memoji, but make one, because just watching it change facial expression as you do is a moving moment. Now you may never, like I said, you may never use it, or you may not care for it, but understanding how this technology works is really cool. By the way, did you know that when that Memoji is moving along with your face, it's because there's 30,000 invisible dots. 30,000 invisible dots being projected onto your face by the iPhone. It has a device in it called the dot projector. Those 30,000 dots are being projected onto your face and making a map. So when you move your eyebrows, your Memoji's eyebrows move. When you crinkle your nose or move your lips, the same thing happens with your Memoji. So is it haha fun and cute? Sure, but the underlying technology is breathtaking. So if you're not into the Memoji, great, but I highly advise you make one just so you can see the incredible technology. The Memoji stickers are a way for you to almost use a traditional emoji, but with your face. So it makes Memoji stickers for you to be able to reply to things and stuff like that. And then third, you have a lot of fixes for group chats. Now, if you've ever been added to a group chat, you know how frustrating they can be, especially if it's a big one, right? On Father's Day, I was added to a group chat, right? I got this text message that said, "Happy Father's Day, gang." And I looked in there and there was probably 22 people in that text message group. Guess what happened all day long? People responded in that group and I got message after message. And it was kind of messy. I looked on my watch and my text message bubble said 14 messages. I never have more than 1 or 2 messages. I always clear them out. Oh, it looks like my screen share might have stopped. Can you still see it?
Sorry, Pete. I got them unshared.
Oh, okay. Okay. And my audio and screen share is coming across again. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, I changed screens here. Let me just jump back
Yeah,
here.
It wasn't you, Pete. We had somebody share their screen. So I'm going to disable that in our meeting links going forward.
Oh, I got you. Okay, no problem. No problem. People checking out, exploring Zoom and stuff. Okay, so anyway, I was in this great big group chat. It kind of went on all day, and many of the people in there I didn't even know. They just added me into a big group chat. So this third phone you see on the right has some key features in there that will allow you to be more of an admin when you're in a group chat. You can reply directly to messages, which I stood up out of my chair and started applauding when Craig Federighi showed that, where you know, instead of just replying in line, you know, somebody might have said something 11 messages ago and you're like, oh yeah, I'm in, me too. Well, too late, because there's already been 11 other messages. It's hard to get the context of what they were saying. But what you can do is reply directly to messages now, among many other things with group chat. So lots of good improvements there. I want to flip to this page because those were really big ones that I think you're really going to enjoy. But on this page, I just kind of going to start in the upper left-hand corner and go around clockwise. I'll make a few remarks about each of these properties. But again, watching the keynote itself, which is about 2 hours, or watching a quick recap video on YouTube that somebody's created will really give you a good sense of a lot of these properties. Now, the Translate app in the upper left-hand corner, a new Translate app by Apple is on its way in iOS 14. This, I mean, it takes Apple to make you smack your forehead and go, why didn't somebody else think of that? But with this translator, you don't even have to tell the translator which language you're translating from and to, right? You can just speak and it will recognize your language, and then you can decide what you want to translate it to there. Or you can even have a two-way conversation with somebody and it will translate both of your languages to that other person's language so they can see and track with the conversation. Incredible. I can imagine standing there in a place where I don't speak the same language and pulling out my phone and we're both talking to the phone and it's displaying my native language when they talk and their native language when I talk. Crazy. I would love that. By the way, along those lines, Siri can translate for you. Don't forget that, because not only is it useful for novelty, but I had a court date the other day, and I was standing in line to go through the metal detector, and somebody who did not speak English was in front of me, and they had a small knife on their keychain. And the guards were telling that person that they couldn't bring the knife through, and he didn't understand. So he went outside and set the knife down on the ground. It was tiny. I'm saying knife, that sounds menacing, but it was just a tiny keychain knife. He set it down on the ground, and then he came back in, and they stopped him, and they said, no, you can't put that there. You have to go bring it back to your car. But he didn't understand. I was standing by, so I told Siri, translate, they're not going to let you in until you put that back in your car, into Japanese. And she did so beautifully, and I showed him the screen. And he thanked me very much, and he grabbed the keychain and walked back to his car. So a remarkable moment saved by Siri. And every one of the people around us had an iPhone in their pocket. But there was many exchanged frustrated glances and long pauses and awkwardness. And I'm thinking, why doesn't somebody just take out their phone and translate for this gentleman? So don't forget you have that already, but stepping up to the Translate app. Messages with inline replies, something called app clips. This is a better seen in demonstration than described by me, but it's a way to make it so you can use parts of an app without having the whole app, right? You don't have to go download the entire app if you just want to use part of it, as long as the developer codes it that way. So I think we're going to see some real interesting things with this, like maybe you're at a BART station and you don't have the BART app, but because of your proximity to the BART station, it pops up and says, you don't have the BART app, you could download it here if you want to, but you could just use this feature of the BART app right now if you'd like. Then you press the button and use that feature. So I think that'll be cool. It remains to be seen what kind of cool things come of it. Guides and maps. Currently, if you want to navigate to a destination, currently maps will give you three choices, right? It'll give you walking directions, it'll give you driving directions, and it'll give you transit directions. So how would I get to Concord from San Francisco? Well, you'd take BART here and then a train here and park here or whatever. That exists today. They're adding bicycle guidance in maps. So if you're on a bike, or even wheelchair accessible routes when walking or rolling or however you get around. So if you need further accessibility or you're on a bicycle, you can now tell maps that. You can even tell maps, I want to walk or I want to get around however I get around, and please give me a route that eliminates steps. I can't go up steps. And it will. It'll route you around a city, avoiding any need for stairs. So another cool thing there, I think there's 4 or 5 major cities that are going to roll out with iOS 14, but then they're planning to cover everywhere in time. But San Francisco was one of them for maps. So that's that. Oh my gosh, car keys in iOS 14. Geez, this is an app for your phone that the car manufacturer uses to program characteristics of the car to be accessed by the app. So BMW is the first to step up for this, and the cars that they release in 2020, from that point out, I'm not sure exactly what the date was where they'll be releasing the first model, but your phone becomes your key. If you walk up to your car and tap your phone on the car, the driver door will unlock. You can also keep your phone in your pocket and just start your car because your phone is in proximity. So more to come on that, but I think that'll be very exciting. I can't wait for the day we all have car keys on our phone. And by the way, you can send your car keys securely to somebody else for a predetermined amount of time. So if somebody's borrowing your car, you just text them the key. Say, hey, this key expires at 8 p.m., but go ahead and use it. And when you're done, it'll lock up by itself. And the other thing too, you can do some restrictive driving measures too. You can tell your key, yes, give this person the key, but don't allow them to go over 65 miles an hour. Then if you got, teens or something, then I think that's a great spot for that. Next up, we have App Library, and this is going to just make it much easier to find the apps in your phone. Ken, I don't want to put you on the spot. You might be away from your computer, but if you're by your mic, how many apps was it at last count that you had? I want to say it was something like 3,200 apps on his phone.
Yeah, actually, this one has a little less, but I remember when I retired my iPhone 7 Plus, I had like around 1,200. But yeah, and the new organization tools and the fact that you can use Siri to launch them is the only way to do it.
Yep. Yeah, these app library tools will make it possible not only for you to easily find your apps with both browsing and search, but will also offload them and sort of say, well, you haven't used this one in quite a while. We'll go grab it for you if you need it. But I mean, that exists today, but in a less elegant way. So
yeah, and Pete, I think that the app clips will prevent that too, because the app clips come down into a temporary holding bin, and then I do love the fact that they have app suggestions.
yeah, if you go, one thing I didn't mention about app clips is if you go somewhere and there is an app, while we're on the word clips, I'll just use Great Clips. There's a haircutting chain called Great Clips. If you walk into Great Clips and there's an app for Great Clips, it'll just pop up when you walk in. It'll say, hey, you might want the Great Clips app. So yeah, just cool things like that enhance our everyday lives walking around. Group photo and messages. That's what we were talking about earlier about some of the group messaging features and enhancements. Cycling directions and maps. That was also mentioned. New Memoji. We talked about pinned conversations and messages. And then the widgets on the home screen. One thing I forgot to mention, sorry, Ken, about the guides and maps is you can also mark yourself as EV. So it'll say, well, you want to get here? Okay, here's all the charging stations. Here's the best roads to drive on that take advantage of, EV special privileges and stuff like that. On-device dictation is might seem small, but that was for I think watchOS now has the ability to send a voice message from your watch, whereas before you could dictate text but kind of not have your voice come through. Tons of improvements in iOS 14. This summary slide here is just some of the big ones, but again, under the hood, unseen are tons of security improvements and lots of things like that. Another thing in iOS 14 that I thought was pretty breathtaking was the ability to make notes like you see in this example, but then they will all be selectable as text, where you could copy and paste them into a text message as text or into a Word document or pages. So it'll recognize your handwriting, allow you to select it, copy it, and paste it elsewhere as actual characters. Really big innovation, and I have a feeling that if Apple's putting it out there, that it's going to work perfectly. I've tried this on other devices and platforms, and it's always been frustrating. You might have tried it too. In fact, Palm Pilot was my very first handwriting recognition, right? The Palm, you guys had the Palm 3 or 4. You would try to write and have it capture your handwriting and understand it, but never really worked like it was supposed to. I'm excited about this one.
Newton reimagined.
Yeah, the Newton. Gosh. Here is some. Let's go around the horn for iPadOS. Let's talk iPadOS. Well, or do you think I should pause and we should chat? Do you want to check in for questions and see how we're doing with that?
People can actually go in and do their raise hand if they'd like, and for cohesiveness, I just think if you want to continue going through,
Sure.
might be the best.
Sure, happy to, and maybe save some time at the end for some questions.
Please do.
Sure. So now iPadOS has some big improvements, and gosh, I got to say the compact Siri UI is one of my favorites. I'm not sure if you have experienced some frustration with Siri sort of taking over the whole screen when you invoke it. It is frustrating for me. I'll tell you where it's most frustrating for me is when I'm driving and I want to tell Siri something or get some information, the whole map goes away. So I get frustrated because I'm like, well, I'm not sure if I'm turning anytime soon or what. In the future, though, from now on, both in iPad and iPhone OS, Siri will be minimized to a smaller part of the screen. Instead of taking over the whole screen with that overlay, that Siri overlay, it'll be relegated to a smaller part of the screen, thus leaving your content free to view. Shape recognition was another one for iPad OS, where if you use Apple Pencil and you create a shape, it will, maybe you draw a star, but your handwriting or your drawing skills aren't great. It will recognize that you're trying to draw a star, and it'll snap your lines right to the star, making a nice clean star. Smart selection, again, that was where you could take your own handwriting, select it, and then copy and paste it elsewhere. Also, data detectors. If you are taking notes on the iPad and you write a date down, like you see there, June 22nd, 2020, it'll recognize that as a date. So you can tap that date, make a calendar invite based on that date, go to that date on your calendar and check if you have any other invites. Lots of possibilities with that. I'm curious to see. But to give you some context about data detectors, here's another place where we have those. Another place where we have data detectors is in email. You know how when you open an email and at the bottom you have somebody's phone number down there, or you have a date in the email? Maybe somebody says, hey, you want to go to lunch this Thursday? Well, that particular data detector allows you to tap it, right? You can tap right on a phone number to call it. You can tap on a date to make a calendar entry. This will be no different, but this is handwriting now. You write something and then it recognizes that as a data detector. So very cool thing there. Search, some big improvements to search. Not real glamorous, but they nevertheless are going to make things easier. And then Compact Calls UI, which is, again, not taking over the whole screen with a phone call. Right now, if I make a phone call on my iPad, the whole screen is monopolized by the call. This will make it so it's like the Mac. Right now, if you take a phone call on the Mac, it's just a little translucent box. We'll get the same treatment on the iPad. App sidebars, another way to expand iPad OS to get a little bit closer. In fact, I would call it a collision. I would say this year, iPad OS and Mac OS are colliding. And this is the first time we've ever seen the two OSs. I am hesitant to say similar. I want to say identical. They're really making the two OSs similar, almost identical. The only thing we'll have different in the visual interface is some additional menus that allow you to tap into the capabilities of Mac OS, which is a little bit more advanced and above iOS. Looks like I'm not sharing again, so I'm gonna just go back to Zoom and reshare, so bear with me here for a sec. I lost my share again. Okay, let me start. Do you want to stop the other person? Who is the other person that's screen sharing?
I'm fixing it.
Okay, say, who wants to take over this presentation? Please feel free. Okay, so Ken, let me just check in. You got my screen again and audio's okay?
You bet.
Okay, thank you. I'm switching over to watchOS now. Just some more incredible improvements. It's interesting. Like you look at the technology we're currently using. Why aren't we way more amazed than we are about the technology that's already strapped to our body? We've got one in our pocket, one on our wrist, and one on our an iPad and a Mac, and the things they're doing are just mind-boggling. And this year will be no exception to the kind of enhancements they can add to your life, your health, or whatever. Sleep is my favorite. The sleep app. Apple's now making a sleep app where you wear your watch to bed. Now, let me pause right there, because my first question, just like yours probably is, well, if I'm wearing my watch all day and then I'm wearing it to bed, when's that darn thing going to get a charge? And the beauty of the Apple Watch, especially the newer models, I know as you go back in years, the charging is a bit slower, but the beauty of the Apple Watch is you get something like 80% of your battery life off of 30 minutes of charging. So the question is, okay, if I'm going to wear my watch to bed and it's going to detect my breathing and even micro movements as I'm sleeping to rate my health, my sleep health in the morning, right? It'll say, you got exactly this much sleep. Here are all the periods where you weren't moving, or where we detected this or that. And then it'll tell you when you got interrupted. And this came in handy. I used a third party one of these, right? It was a different company, but I used one because I wasn't feeling very rested. And what it did was it made a recording whenever I was restless. It made a recording. So I could listen in and find out why I was restless. Because all I knew is that about 3 o'clock every morning, I'd wake up, and it was frustrating. Well, it made a recording, and guess what? There was a train that went by at that time, just about every day. I guess it could have skipped, but I learned that, well, I sleep with my windows open, and that train was making me restless every night at 3 a.m. So I just ended up closing my window. I tried some earplugs and stuff, but at least I knew that. At least I was able to listen in on those moments. So really excited about the sleep app from Apple. I stopped using the third-party ones because they just weren't that good. But now that Apple's making one, I'm super excited. So I'll wear my watch all day. I'll probably charge it while I shower and stuff before I get in bed. Then I'll put it back on when I get in bed. I'll wear it throughout the night, put it back on the charger when I'm up brushing my teeth and getting ready, and then put it back on my wrist when I head out. So that works for me. And if that'll keep it alive throughout the day, then great. I can't wait to see what's going on while I'm sleeping. Let's see, on-device dictation, we mentioned that earlier. That now means that Apple Watch can capture recordings of your voice where before it couldn't. So you'll be able to just tell your watch, hey Ma, I love you, see you later. And then she'll be able to hear that instead of just seeing a text. In your voice too, not the robot Siri voice. Headphone audio notification. Let's see, cycling directions and maps. That's another cool one where if you are cycling, you can wear your watch and your watch will update you on all that information that was available in the full-size Maps app. Multiple complications. That's a cool one. Right now, I'm not sure if you know the story of complications, but what Apple did was they said, okay, developers, we're making a watch and you can make an app for it. And developers were excited. And then Apple said, now we're going to allow you, in addition to making an app for the watch, we're going to allow you to make a complication. And a complication is a preview for the home screen of the watch. And developers were really happy about that. Well, now what they're allowing developers to do is make multiple complications for the same app, right? That's kind of cool because there may be 3 or 4 pieces of information from that app that you want. And previously you could only have one complication at a time for a particular app. Now you can have multiple. So that's cool. The hand washing thing, that's a sign of our times, I guess, right now. But the Apple Watch will, after we upgrade here in the fall, Apple Watch will recognize when you're washing your hands. It does so by movement, and it listens for the sound of water, also listens for the sound of soap. Once it realizes you're washing your hands, a timer will start, and it will keep encouraging you to wash your hands for, I think it's 30 full seconds. You'll see a countdown, and it'll be buzzing on your wrist as you're washing, and it'll tell you can stop after 30 seconds. So interesting, cool, proof of concept, if nothing else. Here's what we're able to do. For those of you who use the workout app, which my wife always does, but she loves to do Zumba. And then there is no workout for Zumba. So she's always just put, like high intensity training or something. Well, now they're adding many different workouts, including Zumba, or they call it dance because Zumba is a brand. So they call it high energy dance. And there's also rowing and many other workouts being added. So if you are one who uses the workout app, you'll be happy to see some enhancements there. Some new watch faces, a wind down. The wind down, or it's sort of like do not disturb for evenings. What wind down will do, it works with your phone and your watch, is it will take your predetermined bedtime. Maybe you said, okay, I want my bedtime to be 10 p.m. Well, at 9:30 p.m., it'll start the wind down process where your watch face will go quiet gradually. Your phone screen will go quiet gradually. And at 10 p.m., by the time 10 p.m. rolls around, both your phone and your watch will be on Do Not Disturb, and your home screen will say it's bedtime. We'll see you in the morning. So kind of kicking you out to get to bed. The next one, I love it. It's called face sharing. And this is where, I've worked really hard on some of my watch faces. I spend an hour or more customizing it. I'm like, when I travel, I need this. When I'm at home, I need this. And who knows, you may have many other configurations when you're working or whatever. So I do have two very well curated watch faces for when I travel and when I'm at home. The reason I have these is because when I travel, I need to see other types of things like the weather of my destination. I always put a timer on my watch face when I travel, because when the plane takes off, I set the amount of time on my timer for the flight, the duration, and then I know exactly when we're going to be landing and kind of can count down with my watch when I glance at it. So for this watch face thing, if myself or some of us geeks can, Al, some of us geeks create a watch face that we spend a lot of time on, it's really good for travel and stuff, I can just text it to you. I can say, hey, here's the watch face I use for travel. It's got all the great stuff on it. And then you would look at the text message, say, yeah, I like that watch face. And you could just add it to my watch. And lo and behold, you look at your wrist and there's the watch face I created. Not only could I share it by text, I could post it on a web page on the MacNexus site. We could say, hey, here's the web page, or here's the watch face Pete was talking about. You can click it, add this to my watch from the website, and it will send it to you, to your watch. So I love that. I love that we'll be able to share watch faces and make more customizations. Mobility metrics and shortcuts are another thing that's tucked in there, and then also language translation right on the watch. So lots of enhancements coming up for the watch. Probably new hardware too. If I had to guess, we're probably due either late this year, because it's a weird cycle going on, or at least early next year. There's probably new hardware coming. Let's jump over to home. Whew, this is my favorite. For those of you who don't know, I am a home automation enthusiast. I might be kind of fanatical about it. I may have reached fanatical status. But just about everything in my home is automated. In fact, I went so far as to buy light switch covers. Yes, my family cannot stand me for it, but I covered all the light switches. It's just magnetic, so they just click on and click off. They're kind of cool. But basically that says, hey, we're not switching light switches on and off anymore. That's so yesterday. We are using different ways to control the lights in our home. From that to sprinklers, we've got the ratio system that we talked about earlier. I highly recommend it. You can just tell Siri to turn on your sprinklers if you want for 2 minutes, and she will, or you can control it via the app. Way better than that Rainbird you have hanging in your garage. It's really hard to program. But now we're expanding the home property, right? You see the word home in the center of my screen here. That's a property of Apple's. That is, they have a home kit for developers, where developers can develop software for the home, and then they have many other utilities that developers can use to enhance this. However, I gotta say at the top of this topic here, you know me, I'm a big believer in voting with your wallet. Let's vote with our dollars, folks, when we're talking about consumer products. First of all, I tell you, go to places that support Apple Pay. Use Apple Pay every chance you get. When you do that, you're telling tech companies and you're telling legislators that we want contactless, fraud-proof payments. We want that. Apple Pay is fraud-proof. For those of you who are not using it, you're just like, oh, it might be too hard for me, or I don't know how. What you're doing is working against us. You're not helping us get the message out there that we want fraud-proof contactless payments. So that's why I always encourage you every chance I get that Apple Pay set up and use it every chance you get. In fact, drive by stores that don't have it to go to a store that does. That's what I do. So you've got the same thing happening with consumer.
On that note, just some people are under the misconception that if you have your credit card in Apple Pay, you don't get your miles and your credits and rewards. Yes, you do. It's just like swiping your card. So I don't know where that came from, but I run into a lot of people that think that. So no, you gain by using Apple Pay. It's not you get anything less.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you clarified that. You could, yep, absolutely, great point. The same kind of thing, in my opinion, is happening with the home ecosystem, right? You have all these companies out there, and they're creating home automation devices, everything from light bulbs to garage door openers, and we've got sprinkler systems now, and front door locks, and my shades in my house. All my shades are even controlled by HomeKit, so my shades go up and down at certain times in automated scenes and stuff. But again, I highly encourage you to vote with your dollars by supporting the companies that are compatible with HomeKit. Not everything is compatible with HomeKit. Some companies choose not to. You know why they choose not to? Because it's cheaper and faster to put a product out that is not HomeKit approved. Only products that are HomeKit approved will work with HomeKit. So after this latest announcement, I just went and got a whole new camera system, because previously I had Nest and Wyze. You've heard of these two companies, right? Nest, who's owned by Google.
Lost your audio, Pete. Pete, we're not getting your audio. Pete, for some reason, we're still not getting your audio. Well, I think we may have lost Pete temporarily. Yeah, I think we did. I think he's going to come back in a minute and we'll get going. So while that's happening, go ahead and you guys, you can go to your participant screen and raise your hand. So if you're on an iOS device, you tap the screen, tap the ellipsis in the upper right, and there's a pull down that says raise hand. And those of you on Macs, if you pop your participant screen out, there is at the bottom a thing that says raise hand. So hopefully we'll get Pete back. Hopefully the internet connection is not terminal. He does have cellular connection there if needed. So we'll keep an eye out for Pete coming back. In the meantime, Bev, you have a question? Unmute yourself and go ahead.
There we go. A question on the Apple Pay. I have the card, I have the titanium, I'm using it successfully in stores. And I have the hard card that if I need to put it into like an internet purchase or something, I can, type in the numbers. But that gives me like 1%. Is there a way, a more sophisticated way of inputting the number when you are not just flashing your phone over a receptacle? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I know on Apple products it's 3%, but and Apple, or Al, you have the Apple card, I know, but I don't think there's another way to increase that, is there? I don't use that card. I have other higher value cards.
Yeah, I have a multiple of cards depending on.
Yeah, and just to put that in perspective, what I do with my cards is I write on each card with a Sharpie what it's good for and what percentages I get on each one. So that's something that I cover in the travel presentation. But
I was trying to be a good soldier and use my Apple card.
Well, it's whatever gets you the most rewards, and that's my philosophy.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're getting Pete back here. Fantastic. Pete is back. Let me do one thing. Pete is back as co-host. There you go, Pete. Welcome back.
Hi, audio okay?
Audio is okay now. I think you got locked up there for a minute or something.
Yeah, I had to leave and come back. I guess internet in a log cabin isn't what isn't what you might think. It's
Yeah,
quite
but the takeaway is you're in a log cabin, and that's so cool.
yeah, not doing too
And
badly.
can you imagine having COVID and not having the internet, for God's sakes?
Oh no, I'd have to play solitaire or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was getting to the exciting part. Maybe that's why I was booted off here. But imagine this. Imagine it was my favorite moment from the keynote personally, because the only way I consume television is through Apple TV. I've become a cord cutter, and that's the only box or hardware that I'll use. I don't use DVD players. I don't use Roku boxes. I don't use Comcast cable boxes or anything like that. I just use Apple TV. If you're watching Apple TV and somebody comes to your door, a box will pop up in your broadcast if you want it to. You can set it so it doesn't, but a box will pop up on your broadcast while you're watching, showing your front door camera, even going so far as to tell you who it is, right? If you've well, let me back up a tiny bit, and I know we're pressed for time here, but if you have the People album in Photos, right? There's a People album in Photos. If you use that, I do. I go in there every so often and approve different photos of my family. You know, yes, that's her. Yes, that's him. It draws from there to recognize people who come to your door, and it'll say, Annabelle is at your door. You can even tell your home pod, right? Down there, right under the word home, you see the two home pods there. You can even tell your home pod to announce who is at the door. Your home pod can say, Annabelle just came to the door. To me, that's real use. That isn't cool factor. That isn't like, oh, look, I'm a nerd. That's like real, like I'm watching TV upstairs in my bedroom and a pop-up comes up showing somebody walking up my walkway, and even telling me who it is if they recognize them, or showing me who it is if they don't. Just really cool stuff. Something like that, I think is a true enhancement. So camera feeds right on your TV. Picture in picture now, also right on your TV. You could have your camera feed. Oh yeah.
Elaborate, because so many people are so concerned about their cameras, how Apple is protecting us with that. And of course, in this case, as far as that Face ID thing is going to be contained within the device, but the fact that Apple is controlling the storing of these photos if they're HomeKit capable video cameras, because I think that's huge versus Wise and Nest and all the others.
Sure, yeah, if the camera is HomeKit compatible, yeah, you just get leaps and bounds. And right now, the only game in town for HomeKit compatible cameras is really the Logitech Circle. That's my advice there, is the Logitech Circle. They're about $150 each. Now, I still have a couple of Wise cams laying around. Like I have one pointing at my 3D printer, so I can look in and see where my 3D print is, you know, because they take hours and hours to do, so I'll look in. It's also useful because sometimes 3D printers derail, so you got to be able to see. Yeah, doorbell announcements, automations, you could, if you wanted to, I don't know why you would, but make it so when Ken Spencer walks up to your front door, March of the Valkyries or Flight of the Valkyries starts playing through your home pod, if that's what you'd like, if that's what you're into. So face recognition and zones and lots of cool stuff coming up for HomeKit. And that's the thing I'm probably most excited about. For any of you who have HomeKit questions, myself or Ken are a great resource. Probably own most of the devices you'd be shopping for. So we're happy to consult, of course, if there's anything you're looking to get for your home. Let me just move along here to macOS. I mentioned earlier that there's practically a collision between macOS and iPadOS. They're so similar now, which I like the cohesive nature of having everything, from my Mac to my iPhone to my iPad be similar, because then I don't have to learn 3 different platforms. So seeing them all coming together like this is really amazing. Now, you may think, okay, well, they're iPadizing my Mac. They're turning my Mac into an iPad. I don't need that. I need a Mac. Don't worry. These are largely interface, sort of like interface consistency things, but they're not taking away features. I remember the groaning when Photos was released. It used to be iPhoto, then it was Photos. And there was lots of groaning about, well, oh no, this doesn't do the same thing that iPhoto did and all that. Turned out that some of the features might have rolled out a little bit more slowly than we would have liked. But now Photos is far more advanced than iPhoto ever was, faster, more reliable, and easier to view across all your devices. So a lot of problems got solved there. I think a lot of problems will get solved with these updates going from, inconsistent UI elements to consistent ones. So very excited about that as well. And then one last thing is Apple Silicon. These folks are creating their own chips. Boy, did Intel ever hear that shot. I'm sure they discussed it well in advance and said, hey, we're going to announce this, get ready, brace yourselves. But Apple used to commission Intel to make all their processors in the Macs, not iOS devices. And now they're going to make their own. And I got to believe that if Apple's entering the game, they're going to do it better than anybody else. So very exciting stuff there as well. With that, I'll take a breath. I know we've got raffle and all that other stuff. So sorry for going long as I typically do, but I'll stop there and stop my screen share and turn it over to you, Ken.
Well, Pete, yeah, went long, but it's amazing how much deeper it could have gone with everything. It was an incredible announcement, and I actually really, seeing the way Pete encapsulated it all was quite good. And I watched the keynote and tried to digest it as much as I could, and that just, man, you just coalesced it so well. And it's coming and coming this fall, and there's a lot of other exciting things. And again, like Pete said, please go watch the keynote. So let's see, I was looking here. I think there were some questions in chat. Oh, great, Pete. When you got cut out, somebody said the camera companies were censoring you. And then somebody else thought that might have been Google also.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right.
One more thing is Dale said Pete's slides would be fun to study later. I crafted them right around the keynote. So if you watch the keynote, you'll see basically everything that I added in there. And don't forget, folks, when you're watching that keynote, you can pause at any time, take a screen capture, and keep going. That way you'll have a photo in your photo roll of that info you wanted to save, and you can refer back to it later, and you don't have to watch the whole thing again.
And in that regard, we are recording this. So this you'll be able to play back. It will be posted up to. Bob will email out the link to the video within the next day or two. Once I get it all uploaded, it'll be a pretty good sized file, but it'll be there in its entirety, and it will last for quite a while. So we are kind of running low on time, so I don't see anybody with their hand up. Any questions real quick, just unmute yourself. We probably got time for 2 or 3 questions is all. And we're gonna then draw on, we did have 77 was our peak. And Lisa and Mary, how many members do we have participating in the drawing?
75.
75, fantastic. So mostly members. So we'll go through that in a second. Jan Barry, you have a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. I'm not hearing it. You are unmuted, theoretically. Try mute and unmute again. See if that works. So obviously you hear me because you did that. Do you hear me? Do you have anything plugged into your device? Tell you what, if you want to go into the chat window and type your question, so click chat and go ahead and type your question. I'll try to address it. So sorry about that. Any other questions that have some mics open that are available? Okay, let's see. I think that's it. So what we'll do, and I'm sorry, you said it was 75 people we have?
It is.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly share my screen here so we can use Siri to give us a count here. So the way this is going to work is, is my screen up there, Pete?
Yep, you got it.
Great, thanks. I'm sorry. Oh. Mary, I'm going to mute. Oh, you guys cleared it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we have 4 $25 Amazon gift cards that will be emailed to you tomorrow or later tonight, probably tomorrow. And then there are 2 $100 gift cards, so a total of 6 prizes. If you win the 25, you still have the chance of winning the 100. But in fact, if you win the 100, we're going to take the 25 away and raffle it off to someone else. Every paid member, there's 75 of them, have a chance to win. And what I will do here in a second is pull up Siri and have Siri generate a random number between 1 and 75. So give us 1 second here. And then our Mary and Lisa will let us know. They are right now, they have a corresponding number to all the names on the roster, and I don't know what that is, and nor does Siri. So generate a random number between 1 and 75.
The answer is 32.
32, okay. Who do we have for 32?
Okay, it's going to take me a minute to find it.
Okay, while she's doing that,
Jim Beam.
if your name gets called, we absolutely have, I encourage you to stick around and then message me by going to chat and sending it to Ken Spencer. I have to have your email, your current email address for you to get your gift card, because it'll be an email gift card from Amazon. So who was that, Mary?
32, correct? It's Jim Bean.
Jim Bean, all right. Fantastic, Jim. So we'll draw the next one. That's a $25 gift card. The 200s are going to go at the end. Give me a random number between 1 and 75.
The answer is 36.
Oh my gosh, so close. 36 is this one. And again, this is Siri. We can't blame anybody but me or her or it. Mary, 36?
I'm looking. Wait a minute. Pressure, pressure.
That's 75 to go through. That's not easy.
Well, they're all in funky order, too.
Ah.
Oh, come on. Oh, Jim Deshawn.
So we 2 Jims in a row in the 30s. All right. So Jim Deshawn. Again, I reiterate, hang around and make sure I get your email, or you can send it to me in the chat window personally if you don't want to put it in the everyone window. So that's 2 of the 25s. Mary, if you could just note next to those, put 25, so I'll get them later from you.
Done.
Give me a random number between 1 and 75.
It's 30.
Wow, we're in the 30s. Everything's right in the middle. So 30 is this one. Don't know if that'll make it any easier to find or not. We do have a large membership list to choose from. There's around 400 members. So that doesn't make this easy. It's not like she's just going through 75 of them. Tell you what, while you're looking that up, I'll pull.
Oh, Harmon Taylor.
Harmon what?
Tabor.
Harmon Tabor. Okay, so again, stick around afterwards and make sure, or go ahead and send me a link in the chat to your email to make sure I have it correct. So this is for the last of the $25 Amazon gift cards. Give me a random number between 1 and 75.
It's 74.
Wow, we're up near the top. So we're double what we were, 74. Probably one of your last ones.
Yeah. And Thomas Wing.
Thomas Wink?
Wing.
Thomas Wing. All right, congratulations, you 4. And we're going to now move on to the $100, not iTunes, excuse me, but the Amazon gift cards. So give me a random number between 1 and 75.
That would be 49.
49 is this one. 49, winner, chicken dinner.
Marilyn McRae.
Marilyn McRae. Congratulations, Marilyn. Make sure I do have your email, so I'll just get that list from her. And the last one, where we go with Siri. Give me a random number between 1 and 75.
It's 27.
27. So it was all higher digits today. So 27. So while Mary's looking that up, you know, Pete, just again, that was great. And I think everybody can give you a virtual clap and applause for that, because it was awesome, as it always is. And the other thing is, stay tuned for EmpowerMac 2.0, Virtual EmpowerMac. Mary, you got it? 27?
I do. Elfrida Delaney.
Alfreda Delaney, great. So again, we'll have those. If your name was called, please stick around and make sure I get an email that has your email list on it. Pete's getting kudos on the chat list here and everything else. If you guys want to hang around and have some questions, I'll leave this chat window open for a little bit. You guys feel free to speak up. Pete's on vacation, so beyond the next couple minutes, I think he's going to probably get with the family. Pete, again, thank you so much. And have a great vacation. I'm sure it's a lot cooler up there. All right, everybody. Okay, make sure I've got your email. You can put it in the everyone list. And Mary, if you want to just take a photo, or however's easiest to get me just the names, and I'll verify that I have theirs. I know Marilyn and Alfreda, I know I have her emails, and then you can verify the emails on there, however it's easiest for you to do it. Apple key. Oh, Al's put in the chat room. Okay, everybody, if you want, if you go to the chat room, into the chat log at the very bottom in the lower right, there's 3 dots. You can say save chat, and it will save all those clickable links in there. So that's fantastic. So Harmon, go ahead. I've got Harmon's email there. You can take that off. Jim Deshawn, I've got Jim Deshawn's. Jim Beams, I'm sure I have, so that's fine. Who was the 4th of the Thomas Wing? I've got Thomas Wing's. And then it was Alfreda and Marilyn McCrae. So I think I have everybody.
Right.
So that's fantastic. All right, thank you, everyone. Feel free to pop in and ask questions, or feel free to unmute your microphone and talk to your friends. And, you know, this is kind of our social hour.
Out there.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So thank you, Ken.
Oh, thank you. Glad you guys made it. And again, 77 was pretty good.
Okay, good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Got a question. Where does it save the chat? It said save, but it doesn't tell me where.
I think it saves it to, it's either in documents or downloads, depending on how Zoom set it up for you. And then it's inside what's called Zoom.
Oh, okay, see it.
So, yeah. And if you just click file, you can save it that way too. Hi, Dennis. Christine, you have a question? Go ahead.
I do. It's about my old iPhone 6, which only had.
I know a guy that needs a
16 or
screen.
30 Pardon?
We know a guy that needs a screen for his.
Oh, well, I have a friend who's still using a flip phone. So she's having trouble with texting and everything, and I thought I'd give her my old iPhone 6. The SIM card is out, but all my info is still on the phone. And what's a good place to go to learn how to, eliminate everything so she can.
Just Google it, but it's so easy. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into Settings, General. And by the way, the iPhone doesn't store anything on the SIM card. So the SIM card is no big.
Okay.
But, so you go to General, Settings, General. And at the very bottom of General, there's a button that says Reset. And if you hit that Reset, then there's another screen, and the second item down says Reset All Contents and Settings. And what it will do is at that point, it will ask you to put in your Apple ID, because remember, it wants to make sure it gets, it's not, that's why nobody could just pick up your phone and make it theirs. So once you do that, it'll take a little while, and it is just like it came from the factory at that point.
Wow. So would it still be good for her to use if she's coming from,
a flip phone?
Yeah.
Remember, depending on the plan she has, because the iPhone uses data, there may be some other charges involved, and you have to shop around for that and see.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
The 6 will be fine, but you know what you need to do is you need to get a new phone and then find out a way to sell her your existing one. That's how we do this. That's why we bring our friends into the fold. And like I always say, MacNexus is our 12-step program for Apple products. So.
Yeah, I know. I'm on a 7 now, but I'm looking maybe to upgrade. So
Yeah, look at that SE, and then but the 6 will be fine. It just won't be great. The battery is probably starting to get a little aged on that, and that's the thing that's going to be different. Remind her she has to plug it in every single night, because coming from a flip phone, you don't have to plug it in but once a week.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And
Also
then another hand up here, Jane. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Jane Hunter. You have to unmute yourself, Jane.
Yes.
Go ahead. What's your question?
I didn't have one. I must have made an error.
That's no problem. I will mute you and lower your hand then. And Karen Downs. Howdy, Karen. Question or comment, I'm sure.
I just put a link in the chat to Apple's page on what you should do before you sell or give away your iOS device.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. That's a great link. Thank you, Karen.
I keep that bookmarked on in Safari so I can get to it easily.
Because it's not like people ask that question very often, huh?
Yeah.
Good job, Karen, and good to see you. Thank you.
Hey, Ken.
Yeah, Al?
Yeah, about that iPhone 6. I don't think it'll update to the next version coming in.
No, definitely won't, but it'll work with what it's.
But yeah, it'll do the present generation.
It's still 100 times better than a flip phone.
Oh yeah.
Because it gets them into the fold.
Yep.
Richard Park, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Richard or the other Park there, unmute yourself and ask your question. Your hand is raised.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Would you scroll down on your screen so I can see about the force restart on the 6? Yeah,
Right
there we
there.
go. Thank
The other
you.
thing you can do is you can go to the link that Pete put in the chat room. That's where all that stuff came from. But I'll leave that up there for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions? You don't have to raise your hand. Just speak up. Anybody else? Fantastic. Mary, are you still on? Yeah, I just want to just make sure you give me those names. You can give me just first and last. I think I have all the emails. I'll contact you if I don't. How's that?
Okay, I'll just send you an email with all the names in it.
That'd be great, because that way I can just double check. I know that I think I have the 4, and then it was Alfreda and Marilyn McRae were the $100 ones, correct?
Correct.
Okay, good.
I think that's right. Anyway,
Okay. No, just verify that for me.
Yeah, I will send an email to the board.
Fantastic. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Go for it.
I am locked in on my screen to the screen that has maybe the chat, the force restart of the iPhone 6s.
That's because I'm
Get
sharing
out of
my
it.
screen. I'll fix that.
Ah, I see you. Thank you. You're a magician.
Well, it's just we were sharing that because I wanted Siri to be shown, so it looked like I wasn't doing any trickery behind the scenes. All right. So, anyone else? We still got either a bunch of people asleep or still 17 people in the chat there.
Yeah, I'm trying to say that happened when I was trying to save the chat, it seemed.
Yeah, it shouldn't have affected the chat window, but if you just click on chat, that stuff's still there, so you can go ahead and kick that out.
Click on the file or on the 3 dots?
Either one. If you click on file, then click on computer, or just click on the ellipsis, and that will save it to somewhere in your computer, probably in a Zoom folder.
Yeah, I created that one. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's gone to Zoom, but it's never mind.
A folder, and it's a text file.
I see too many glasses of wine during the meeting.
Is there such a thing as too many?
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's all relative. So for some
enzymes are induced.
reason, you just sent me the Zoom package, on the chat. So don't do that. That's okay. All right. So that, Scott, go ahead.
Ken, I've got my iPad open and I wanted to take a picture of that link. How do you do it on the iPad? I know how you do it on the phone to take a picture, screen picture of that link.
Well, you actually would want to see if you can save chat, and I'm not sure if you can on the iPad. But on the iPad, what you do is the sleep wake button, the button that would be if you're in horizontal mode, it's the one in the upper left.
Yeah.
You at the same time press it and the home button and just click it, and you should get a little screenshot.
I tried that, it didn't work. I don't know. I must
You have to be at
doing
the same
something.
time, and it's a test.
Okay. Thank you.
How old's your iPad?
About 4 years old.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't the newest one, but yeah, that's how you do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of getting it right.
Screenshots on the computer are done how?
Depends on your operating system. Generally, Command-Shift-5 or Command-Shift-4, and then it draws a circle.
Thank you.
Any other questions before I go? Because I have to save the video and get it started uploading and all that other good stuff. So, Al, thanks for your help today. Mary, Lisa, thank you so much. And I will save chat so it's done. Boom. Oh yeah, when you save the chat, it says show in Finder. And so that way it shows up right there when you click on that. Great. Okay, everyone, thank you. I guess the rest of the people are probably asleep by now, but they left their stuff open. So while I end the meeting, that'll stop it for them. I will stop.